So there's still a lot of activity in that group trying to do good things in California with nuclear energy. So I continue to be involved with the group on the periphery, and I would listen in to weekly calls, but I'd very rarely say very much. But one day, Heather Hoff,
Yes.
president, co-founder of Mothers for Nuclear, she made a statement that, and she's not a mean person. She's a lovely, lovely person. But she made a statement on this meeting in front of everybody. Well, we know that all you oil and gas people hate nuclear. And we also know that you oil and gas companies are actively undermining the nuclear industry. And I had to take myself off of mute and say, Heather, that is just not true. I've never heard of that. I think oil and gas people intuitively support nuclear energy because oil and gas people believe in good, reliable, energy dense fuels. We appreciate nuclear energy for what it is. And I said, I frankly don't know a single person in my industry. I'm not saying there's not. I mean, there's how many, 4 million oil and gas employees in the U.S. I'm not saying none of them do, but the vast, vast majority of us do not
Right.
object to nuclear energy. We support it. So that's what gave me the idea. So I was thinking, what can I do for this cause? And one thing I could do is dispel this myth that oil and gas executives hate nuclear energy and that oil and gas companies are undermining nuclear energy. So I thought, well, we should just come out and sign a letter in support. And at first I thought, well, I could just get anybody in the oil and gas industry, but I thought it might be more effective to just get signatures of executives. So I didn't know if I had the gravitas to pull this off. So I texted Chris Wright over at Liberty. And Chris is a wonderful person and a busy man, and didn't necessarily assume that he would respond to me immediately, but almost immediately he sent me a text back and says, I love this idea. Let's do it. So we decided that we would draft this declaration of oil and gas executives in support of nuclear energy. And we would kind of explain the importance of energy, the importance of safe, reliable, affordable energy, and then explain why nuclear needs to be part of that, and then talk about the things that we need to do to make nuclear better and more accessible, how we can build new nuclear in the U.S. And so this is a process that took several months because that declaration ranged from one paragraph to 6 pages at one point. And in the end, after talking to a lot of people, we refined it down to a 2-page declaration. And I called Chris and said, hey, I've got something I'd like you to look at. And I fully expected him to want to edit it or change it or add or subtract things. But I took it over, and a few hours later, his executive assistant called me and said, Chris signed it. And he was the first one to sign it as is. He didn't want to make a single change. So we were off to the races, and we've got, as you said, over 110 executives who signed it so far. And I'm not actively seeking new signatures, but usually once or twice a week, I'll get an email from some executive who's seen it on a podcast or somewhere and said, hey, how can I sign? So there we have it.